Welcome to the Too Busy to Eat show. I'm Greg Zuffalato, the host of this show. Today we have Rachel Martinez on the show. Rachel is a certified professional life coach. She's a mentor. She's a keynote speaker. She's an entrepreneur, to throw a few other things on top of what she's doing. What really has defined Rachel and what she does is all the obstacles and the things thrown in her way along her journey. And they are pretty drastic on the things she's had to overcome. I'm not going to spoil it for you. She's going to tell you about it. And you're going to love and be inspired by what she has to share, because it is amazing. I can't exaggerate it. It's amazing to listen to what she's gone through. So now, after you do listen to this show and you love it, I want you to make sure you comment on this show on YouTube or leave a review on iTunes or Stitcher. I would love it for you to give me some feedback. Well, I'm excited. Let's get to Rachel and hear her amazing journey. Well, welcome, Rachel. I'm really excited to have you on the Too Busy to Eat show. Thanks for taking the time today.
Thank you, Greg. I'm excited as well. It's a real pleasure for me.
Yes, this has been, I've been waiting for this interview for a while. I'm very excited about it. And we've gotten to chat a little bit to get started, which is great. And I know quite a bit about you from, a mutual friend and then just, my research. But why don't you give everybody a little background on your journey to what led to you to where you are today?
Long and complicated, but it goes way back to childhood. Of course, I was very entrepreneurial as a child, and but I went through a lot of difficulties. So I grew up in a home that was it looked very pretty on the outside, but on the inside it was really tough. And so by the time I was 8 years old, I had been through a lot that a lot of people wouldn't want to have been through, right. Physically, emotionally, mentally. And I had to go through several physical hurdles as a result of that. So by the time that I got through to about 15, I'd been through enough that I'd been stabbed, scalded, starved, beaten. I had a brain aneurysm. It was just kind of a mess. And so I had a lot to overcome. Yes. And when I got to my 20s, I was so used to overcoming that when people told me something was impossible, I basically decided it needed to be done. And so I ended up starting a construction company with somebody. Wow. And by the time I was 21, I could make 10 grand a week. And wow. I had a few simple rules about it, and that I would tell them it was going to take longer than I believed it was going to take. And I told them that it was going to cost more than I believed that it was going to cost. And when I got it done in less time and for less money, they were excited because everything was on schedule, which was very unusual for construction. Yes. I think it still is.
It's exactly opposite of my experiences.
Right? And I think that's the case with pretty much everyone. And so my bids were a little bit higher, but everyone knew exactly what to expect. I never came back and said, I want more money or I need more time. I just got it done. And so word was passed along because I found out that people were more excited about knowing exactly when they should sell their house and move to the new one than having to go back and forth on time and have someone ask them for more, even if the bid was less to begin with. Right. So it was kind of a neat jump start with that. And so I took that and ran with it through life. And now then I joined the Army after a while.
Why not?
I know. I was like, okay, so let's go. I was planning to be an officer, but I went enlisted. And then while I was enlisted, I ended up with a traumatic brain injury.
Oh, gosh.
And I was on the run team for the Army at my post, and I ended up having a heart attack on the
oh my gosh
field. And so my heart failed, and then they said, well, what's going on with you? And I said, well, I think it might be because of my brain injury. Maybe it's not, something's not controlling my body right. So they went and did an MRI to check that out, and they came back and said, oh, you have a brain tumor. And I was like, what?
Gosh.
Wait, no, we were supposed to figure out about the brain injury, not what, I don't know what this
Not something else, right?
Yeah. Well, let's not do any more investigation. But I ended up getting out of the military with some injuries, and then I was beat nearly to death. 2 weeks after getting out of the military, and that was while I was planning my wedding, and my fiance was thousands of miles away at the time because once we got married, it's going to move back, and so it got very tough. I was life flighted out of state, and I had emergency reconstruction surgery on my face.
Oh my gosh.
And then once I was going through all of this, it was my second traumatic brain injury, so it was a lot to recover from.
Right.
The doctors along the way kept saying that I wouldn't do things. And when I left the Army, they said, because of a back injury, they said that I would never run again, but that was a lot of my life. And so it was really, really tough for me to hear that. So I told him that I was going skydiving. And I think he wanted to send me some mental health after that. So I was like, no, really, I'm sane. I'm just telling you, like, this is not the end of my story. So they told me I wouldn't go back to school. I would probably not do a lot of things. And since then, I've worked really hard. I ended up going back to school. Got 5 associates in 2 years. When people normally get 1, I decided that I needed to go a little overboard just to let everybody know.
Surprising. Yes.
And so now I'm actually getting a dual degree in criminal justice and psychology, and I have my 4.0. I graduated with those 5 associates with honors.
Yes.
And got tested by Stanford and the Department of Veterans Affairs. They said that my intelligence and processing was above average. So it was, to me, it was just one more hurdle after the other. And I just thought, if I can make it over this thing, then I can get over the next one, and we'll just keep going. And so now I think it's 11 certifications later. I do a lot of work as a certified professional coach, life coach, and leadership coach, and I enjoy it tremendously. A lot of my work is trauma recovery.
Right.
So it's life, leadership, and trauma recovery. And the interesting thing is that a lot of those go together a lot of times. And a lot of people don't want to talk to someone who's going to label them as much as they want to just move forward. And usually it's people in leadership who feel like they don't have some place to share that.
Right.
And so this is the safe place where they find healing and hope for tomorrow. And it's not just someone saying it, it's someone who's lived it. So it's been a fun journey. And of course, after all of that, the trauma and the things that I was told I wouldn't do, I decided I needed to run for Mrs. California when I got married, because that's what people do when they get brain injured and their back is injured. They can't walk with grace. They can't speak correctly. I was like, oh, let's go do the thing that I really can't do. But it was motivation for me.
Yes.
Every year I went back and I would get a little bit better than last year. I learned to walk a little better. I learned to speak a little better. And it was an opportunity to contribute to my community. Yeah. And I found out that pageantry is hard for anyone, but especially for someone with a few traumatic brain injuries. Right. So I also found out that I had a brain injury in 2005 in the Army. And then right after I got out in 2008, and then 2011, I decided that I was getting well enough to take martial arts class. Only I wasn't. So I went to go to get in the shower after martial arts class, and I guess I was a little too dizzy from class, and I bent over to pick something up, fell into the counter and cracked my head from my eye socket all the way up into my hairline. So I was like, wow, I started over once again. And then I was really glad at the time I had a job with the government because they were required to hire veterans who were injured. Otherwise, I might not.
Qualified. Yes. Overqualified for that.
I was very overqualified. And so I was preparing myself for 2014 because so far, every 3 years, I had gotten a head injury since 2005,
Right.
but it came early. In 2013, I fell down a flight of stairs and managed to hit my head so hard all the way down the stairs that by the time I got to the bottom, it was just flying up about a foot and then crashing onto the stairs. And I went blind.
Oh my gosh.
And I thought, I'm not sure if I can deal with one more thing.
No.
This feels like a bridge too far. But my vision in my right eye came back within 5 minutes.
Okay.
And because when my face had been crushed and reconstructed, they had to pry my cheekbone out of the front of my brain and the back of my eye, my left eye. It was damaged.
Right.
And the vision in my left eye didn't come back completely for 8 months.
Oh.
But it did come back.
Yes.
And I can actually see better than 2020.
Oh gosh.
Left eye.
That's fantastic.
What are the odds?
Yes.
It's amazing. So
that is amazing.
now, with all these head injuries, I was continuing to run for Mrs. California since 2009. And I kept having to recover, but it motivated me and it gave me an opportunity to contribute to the community.
Yep.
And I wouldn't trade those experiences for anything. No. But a lot of people began to hear my story, and I didn't want to tell it. I told it one-on-one every now and then when people would really ask, like, what's up with you? And I got a call from the Department of Veterans Affairs in Stanford University one day. And they said, would you come share your story? And I said, what story? I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have a story. They said, oh, we know you have a story. And I was like, wait a minute. Were you those people that followed me around the hospital and kept wanting me to do surveys? And they said, oh, that was us. And I was like, I hated you so much. But they played the violin for me, and they said it would help other veterans. There'll only be a few veterans there and some doctors. So I went, and I walked through the door, and there were photographers and journalists and VIPs. And I said, what is happening? And they said, oh, it's a historical moment. And when you're done telling your story in video format, it's going to go into the National Archives of the Smithsonian. And then it's going to be launched around the world so veterans can see it. And I was like, do what? Where you were going from, like, I never tell my story to I'm telling the whole world and putting it in the National Museum.
Millions of people, and then millions of people for years to come.
I was like, oh, wow, you're really lucky I got dropped off because from 2.5 hours away. That's a really long walk.
So how'd that go?
It was incredible.
Yeah.
It did go into National Archives of the Smithsonian. It got launched around the world.
Yeah.
And when I went to Mrs. California, I ended up sharing my story for the first time, because I had not wanted to share it before. And that was when I heard those words. And the new Mrs. California, United States 2015 is Rachel Martinez. I'm surprised I didn't fall down.
That's really amazing. That is amazing. It's just a testament to courage and just never giving up and keeping pushing forward. That's amazing. That is really amazing.
Thank you. It's been a journey.
Yes. What's like the whole time you've faced so many obstacles? What really drives you just to keep on going?
I think it was training as a child. When I was told that I was worthless and I would never amount to anything, something inside of me said, I don't accept those labels.
Right.
And there were times when I wanted to step into moments of greatness and those labels would show up. And they would hound me, and I would either not step into the moment of greatness, or I would, fall apart in some way. And I remember looking back on it and reflecting and saying, that's not what I want my life to look like.
Right.
And so I decided that labels were not my thing. And now I can't remember the labels of my art tools sometimes. Maybe I went too far, but I made it a determination to not let labels define me, not let other people's opinion of me define me.
Right. And that drive, did that lead you into coaching?
It did.
Yeah.
In a way. When I got out of the military, I spoke to someone who was very much like a coach, and she helped me look forward instead of back. She didn't label me. She just said, here's the horizon. What would you like to be and do? And after going through that, it was like unlocking a bird cage and letting the bird free. And I decided that's what I wanted to do for other people as well.
Yeah. And it's so, you have so much to share with people they have to, in whatever situation they're in, they have to grab onto your story and you help them through theirs. It's perfect. I mean, it's turning so many bad experiences into helping so many others. That's a wonderful thing to do.
Thank you. Thank you. And I live by a motto of not letting small minds tell me that my dreams are too big. Yeah. And when you believe in someone else, like someone believes in you, it's amazing to see what happens in their life. Yeah. And I just feel like I'm paying it forward in many ways, because there were people who stepped into my life and did that for me.
Right. And it seems to be when people do it for the right reasons and like pour into others, it comes back. And, you do it because you want to help people, but eventually it comes back. And that's why you're successful in what you're doing, because you really want to help people, but it's coming back to you as you help others.
Oh, it always does. Yeah. I believe 100% that whatever we put out there comes back to us fourfold, if not more.
Yeah. Right.
And I've been so blessed in that way.
Now, you do a lot. You've done a lot of things. I mean, you have your coaching practice. I mean, you're helping people. You've done a lot of different things. We talked about a lot of different certifications, degrees. How do you kind of manage it all?
Very, very carefully. I actually have several tools that I use. Things I've picked up along the way. I use my phone for a calendar. It reminds me of things, and I have it with me almost constantly. Right. So I put little alarms on things that I absolutely do not forget. But I have a vision board that I pick 2 things for every year. What 2 things would I want to accomplish without a doubt? And if I could drive for anything, what would be the very top of the list? And so I put those 2 things at the top of my vision board. And then I put the rest of the things underneath it. I mean, I've had everything from skydiving to, and I did it. I went skydiving.
That's great.
And it was awesome. To Mrs. California. I've had it all on my vision board. Right. And some of it's monumental. Some of it's a matter of, picking up the phone and calling and saying, hey, I want to go skydiving. And so I have, and then I have whiteboards that kind of break it down from there. So I'll take here's my vision, here's my grand vision, and maybe it's my 5-year, 10-year, who knows when that will work out, but then I'll start to back it up.
Right.
And I'll put those steps onto a whiteboard. Yeah. And then I can erase and put more steps as I go. And then I have another whiteboard that's specifically for school, because I'm going to school right now. I do 8-week semesters, full time and a half.
Right.
And then I'll have another board that has my clients and the things that are going on with them.
Right.
And so and then I keep things on my computer as well. So right. I have all my different files on there and making sure that I keep things straight. So sometimes it's just a matter of doing the next thing and doing it imperfectly at times.
Right. Yeah.
I am a perfectionist, but I found out that if I work too hard on the perfection part of it, I don't get anything done. So I just dive in and do things sometimes imperfectly, like
Right.
Mrs. California. Very imperfect at first.
Perseverance would have to be a word that is used to describe you many times, because with Mrs. California, of course, but with all the other obstacles that tried to get in your way, but you didn't let them.
Thank you. Yes, I like to think of it as an endurance race sometimes.
Yes. Well, I think a lot of times, almost every case I've known, perseverance and that some people call it grit or whatever it is more important than any kind of skill or talent we have. Because
that determination can outdo talent any day of the week.
I didn't want to say talent because I don't want to say that you don't have talent, because you have talent too. But you're right. But the perseverance over.
And if you put talent and determination together, no one else has a chance.
That's right. What are some of the components for you for like finding with all the things going on to find a balanced life for you? What are some of those essential components?
As far as like a schedule, or
more like pieces, like what needs to be in place for you to feel like your life is in balance and you're feeling good about things? Like,
okay, got it. I make very specific and special time to spend with my husband. He's my priority, number one. I think if I didn't have him in my life, he's helped me along the way tremendously. I wouldn't be where I am without him. And my marriage is very important. I put that right at the top of the list. So if anything else falls apart, my marriage comes first. And, I just have to make sure that that's in good shape. So we'll go on dates weekly. And we'll go on trips every couple weeks, believe it or not.
That's great.
But I just stuff it in there because I'm like, this is really important to me. And then there's friends and family. There's exercise, eating, believe it or not. Some people ask me if I sleep. I used to tell them that I'll do that when I die, but I do try to put some of that in there too.
Yeah.
But it's a matter of just, I guess, making room for it.
Yeah. Right. And as you mentioned nutrition, how has that been with all the push and pull of different things, your relationships, your schooling, your work with people and life coaching? How does nutrition, what role does that play in keeping your productivity at a high level?
It is enormously important. If I start running out of energy, then I might as well have not slept all night. It's the equivalent. I mean, my brain doesn't work as well. Right. I don't relate to people as well. It's just like a little malfunction. It's like my batteries are running low.
Right.
So I've made a point to combine a lot of the things in my life. And I think it's really important to be relaxed when you eat. So I try not to be at my desk or in my office. I get away from it, but I'll combine it with friends because friends is part of my work balance. So like today I made a lunch date and I went to, I got soup and salad with a friend at 11 o'clock today. And I just said, this is, she's like, are you sure you have time? I'm like, I make time, so we're going to spend some time together or we're going to eat. It's going to be nice and fun and relaxed. So
that's great. Yeah. That's really neat. And then do you feel, you make time for relationships, which is very important. Do you feel like the productivity, like things that you're accomplishing, does that give you a sense of life balance too, or of fulfillment, all the things you're accomplishing?
I think so.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit driven, I think. Maybe more than the average person, but I like to be challenged. And my goal is to help as many people as possible. Yeah. And between those two, it's satisfying and fulfilling for me to really push myself and accomplish all of these different things. Mm-hmm. Almost every single thing that I have been motivated to do has had something to do with helping people and making a difference and an impact on the world. So honestly, I'm on a mission more than anything else. And my mission kind of encompasses everything I do. So my mission personally is to impact the world so that people understand that they are important and they have a very specific destiny in their originality as a person. And I want them to be able to fulfill that destiny. So everything that I do kind of it revolves around that. And so when I have that as my mission statement, then a lot of the other pieces fall into place, because it's not like going out with friends falls outside of that mission, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, it absolutely does. I love that. Have you always had a mission statement for your life, or is that something you've recently developed?
I think I developed it once I've always had one, but didn't have it defined or written down as a mission statement. Yeah. And somehow when I wrote it down, it changed it a little bit for me. It was very impactful. Yeah. And then to have it on my vision board was even more impactful, because I see that on a regular basis. Right. And whenever I get weary, or I'm just like, oh, I'm so tired, why am I doing this? I can see why. I look at that, and then even I've done a lot of work with anti-human trafficking and helping people rescue people from that kind of environment. And so sometimes I'm just it can get a little overwhelming because it's really tough work, and I'll go like, what are we doing again? But having that mission statement does make a difference. And each year I will choose a statement for the year, like something that I want to work on. Like last year was taking risks. This year was meeting challenges, and what that means to me gets more specific. But I pick a motto each year. That's great. I asked that because I've always found that people talk about the personal mission statement, family mission statements, and how impactful they are. And I love it. I love that. I have just a couple more questions for you, but do you have any routines that you're in place, morning, day, night routines that help you in your busy, kind of hectic life? Yes, absolutely. I get up whenever I wake up. I sometimes it's a little bit different than other times, just because of the nature of my work. But I will. I'll have a lemon, olive oil, ginger. What else do I put in there? Like a concoction. It gets me going in the morning. Honey, but it's like little things like that kind of keep me on point. And so I do. I have very specific times that I do certain things. I make time for my husband at lunch. He comes home for lunch, which is nice. It's time to spend with him and an opportunity to eat and without any distractions. Right. And so I just take a break. I know every day that that's what I'm doing right then. And then we go to the gym and work out Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 7. And so there's just different little things that I put into my schedule that if I didn't put them into my routine, might not happen. Right. But having that routine makes such an impact for me on my whole life. I feel like it makes everything I do faster, better, as in not like I'm living my life faster, but I mean, I'm able to get a lot of things done faster. Right. Yes. Because I know this is my window for it. Right. And so it needs to get done. Yeah. Let's get it done. Yeah. It makes it it's more efficient. Yeah. It's great. Yeah. Yeah. Now, what's one piece of advice that you'd give? Let's pick that busy entrepreneur, somebody that has an entrepreneur heart, and they're trying to either build a business or create a business or move up in their chosen profession, but they're kind of on a treadmill. What piece of advice would you give them to find more of a balance in life? Sometimes it's accountability. Finding someone to be accountable to for the routine that you're doing, because or finding, I think even, if I may say so, finding a life coach can make an impact. It really can. It can transform your life completely. It did mine.
Yes.
And I think that was the point in my life when everything really changed. I mean, there was such a whole new world of possibilities that I hadn't even seen, because now I was seeing it from another person's perspective. When you have your own perspective, you can be creative and you can be driven and you can be determined. There can be a lot of things that you have going for you, but when you have another perspective, it gives a whole new dimension to what you're doing. And so I would say, get people on board who have another point of view. And if you can, get a life coach who can just really help open a lot of those doors and opportunities in your head.
Well, it's not a secret that the life coaching, that industry is growing so rapidly because it works. The people that have done the right training like you have and really are pouring into people, it's completely life changing. So that's why it's such an important part of people's life. And so many people are doing that, are getting life coaches. And I hear, it seems like every day there's another story of a business leader, entrepreneur that was changed or has a coach guiding them through. Yeah, I hear it all the time. Yeah.
Well, I have one too, and I'm not saying that people need to call me per se, but I just think that it's such a valuable thing, and it transformed my business.
Well, your story is amazing. I can't thank you enough for sharing with us. I mean, I know you've shared with the world, but you haven't shared with us yet. So this was pretty exciting. If somebody wanted to, reach out to you, find out about some of the things you are doing or do as a life coach, where can they reach you?
I have a website, www.rachelchapinmartinez.com. And so that's rachelchapinmartinez.com.
I like it. It'll be in the show notes, so we'll get that down, but I'm glad you spelled it out so we can get it. Yeah.
Okay. My apologies.
No, that's good. That's good.
But my phone number too is 831-915-4444. And that's a work number. I don't always answer it because I'm always doing a lot of things, but I will give a call back. And then I have an email address as well, holographique@live.com.
Okay.
And it's French. It means written by my own hand. A lot of people ask me what that means.
What is that? Yes.
I got a little creative, maybe a little too creative, but I like holographic thinking, so I thought it worked.
That's great. It's unique too. I like it. Very creative.
Thank you.
Well, Rachel, thank you so much for taking the time to be on our show today. I love your story. I love what you're doing for people. I love the life change you've gone through and the obstacles you've overcome is staggering. It's staggering for 10 different people to overcome it, and you've done it all. Just one person has done it. So thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you, Greg. I really appreciate it. It's been a very big honor for me. Thank you.